Testing, testing.
Could we have a meeting come to order? We're going to have a pledge of allegiance. Excuse me. Pledge allegiance, guys. Pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. The republic for which it stands, one nation. Tonight, we have a presentation for the Boothland Town Center. This has been a one-year project that the Board of Commissioners sanctioned over a year ago with the DCED. First of all, I'd like to thank the Boothland Task Force, which was put together through myself, Barb Kelly, our assistant manager, a year ago. Myself, I'd like to introduce them. We did have some of the professionals on board throughout the whole year. Brian Siddell, our township planner, George Needles, the township manager, Lisa Catania, our engineer. The task force consists of myself, and I will tell you, from day one, I'm proud of this task force. I'm proud of where we got today over a year with all the meetings we had, public viewings. Task force consists of Pam Adrian, which was a member of the Planning Commission, Ed Coleman, which was Community Action off of Meeting House Road. We had quite a few residents, Lisa Curry, Barbara Massey, Nicole Steinacker, John Shorn, which is also in the Historical Society, Heart and Soul Representative Judy Stang, and the business owners and CBA members and Rotary, Mark Gibbons and Mike Fiorelli. Main part was our planner, which is CH Planning. They will be doing our presentation tonight. President of this CH Planning is Chanel Hicks. And doing our presentation, that's put up with us for a year now, with very good recommendations on both ends. Is Nancy Templeton, our project manager. And on that note, not only did we work with the staff from the task force, some of the township employees that we were able to get some information from, we had recommendations from professionals, will consist of PennDOT, SEPTA, CBA, and other nonprofits. The Delaware County Planning Department, the Planning Commission, quite a few surveys to the residents, businesses, developers, the Board of Commissioners, the social media, open houses. So this was a very diverse and involvement, not just with the task force, but with the community. And we're finally here. Nancy, it's all yours, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, here we go. Thanks for the introduction, Ed. Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Templeton with CH Planning. I'm very excited to be here to present the final plan for the Boothland Town Center. We've been working on this for just over a year, and with the support of a lot of people, we've gotten to this great milestone. This plan could not have happened without the support of so many people, a lot of whom are listed on this slide, but not everyone. I want to give a special shout out to Barb Kelly, for her great leadership and expertise, Ed Rakowski for his leadership representing the Board of Commissioners, Planning Commission for their insightful comments and questions and recommending the plan to the commissioners, Heart and Soul, and professional input from Delaware County, SEPTA, and PennDOT. I especially want to thank our great task force. The task force is the guiding force that represents the community It includes residents, business owners, the Community Action Agency, the Chichester Business Association, the Historical Society, Heart and Soul, the Planning Commission, township staff, and elected officials. Our ideas for creating this plan and the outcomes of the plan were essentially filtered through this group who represent different interests in the community before reaching out to the wider community. Just to review where we started from, the overall goals and objectives of the Town Center Plan derived somewhat from the Delaware County Comprehensive Plan Framework, which designates Boothland as a town center. And the goals and objectives listed here were tailored to Boothland's needs primarily. Purpose of the plan. We want to think of the Town Center Plan as a framework of ideas, not an absolute agenda. The plan guides growth and change over the next 10 years or so. It provides a menu of ideas and concepts to illustrate examples of what could happen. It's a guiding but flexible, not prescriptive document. And it puts most of all, it puts the community in charge of growth and change. Ed talked a little bit about the public engagement. We had really great community involvement throughout the process, with 2 public open houses with about 200 people attending in total. Special thanks to Heart and Soul for letting us piggyback on their summit. This was great for turnout. We had another 250 people fill out our community survey, and we also did have a sort of a presence at a 3rd community meeting with the Heart and Soul at the community center. That was in the summer. So whenever we do community engagement, we like to start off with the positive, the good stuff. What are things that people like about the community, what they don't want to change or what they want to enhance? And we got some really good feedback on the business options that are there. They do like the business options that are there. They like the people. They like the walkability, the fact that there are jobs. And I think it was really great to find out in our survey when we asked how often people shopped in the town center that most people shop there weekly, which is fantastic. We also need to talk about what people want to change. Helps us prioritize our issues. And in both the survey and the democracy exercise at the public open house, overwhelmingly people were concerned about traffic, which is not surprising. But other issues like cleanliness, safety, walkability, the lack of business options, these were all issues that we honed in on in order to develop our priority issues upon which to build the framework. We asked people what they wanted more of in terms of businesses. Overwhelmingly, people wanted more, dine-in restaurants and options, a brewery and a pub, a theater, coffee shops, clothing stores, a variety of things that they seem to not have as much now as they want to. So this is also helpful in framing the implementation strategy and the concepts for the plan. We ask people to look to what they know of the towns that they like, that they find inspirational. That's something that Boothland could model. This gives us an idea about the scale, the types of building heights, types of buildings, the density, business options that people like, that people accept, that we can strive to make changes for. Media was a clear winner, but there were several other honorable mentions, and we can draw a little bit from each of these places. The public input helped us focus on the issues and opportunities to prioritize and also helped formulate the vision statement, which essentially is to be a welcoming community, to preserve the historic character, create a sense of place, provide lots of lifestyle options, and more community, public, and open space. These priority opportunities and the vision led to the development of some conceptual plans and ideas. These plans were created to visualize ideas that embody the vision. They are snapshots showing a few of many possible alternatives. They may not happen exactly as shown, but they provide a visual guide to the type of change that is desired in the community. Overall, we were looking at development, redevelopment, and public space opportunities. Again, these are some areas, some of these areas are publicly owned, many are privately owned. The idea is to provide a guideline when properties become available and when development opportunities arise. This is an overview of the key mobility enhancements, including sidewalk improvements, a new trail network, intersection improvements, bridge replacement, streetscape improvements, and municipal parking. We got very positive feedback from Delaware County Planning and SEPTA when we presented these ideas. And we also got some great constructive criticism from PennDOT, who after a few tweaks about what to do with Blue Ball Avenue, gave us a positive review of the plan, ultimately. Quickly going to go over the catalyst projects, which are projects that we believe will have the most positive impact for change in the town center and create the form of the town center. Again, these concepts represent a few of many possible alternative designs. The main takeaway is that they are very important strategies and locations that require priority action. First catalyst project is to change the zoning to promote and permit the type of development and design desired for the town center. Current zoning really does not do that. Changing the zoning is pretty straightforward. It can be done early on and for not that much money. And I believe the township has already kind of started looking into this and has been sort of chipping away at it for a while. And Delaware County is a really good resource for this. Delaware County Planning has model ordinances that can be used for guidance in developing a new town center overlay district. As the commercial spine of the town center, Chichester Avenue will need a streetscape design that promotes walkability, calms traffic, mitigates flooding, and creates an attractive identity and sense of place. The next few slides are example redevelopment alternatives selected because they are key locations in the town center. The gateways are important because they are the first impression when one enters the town center. This on the screen right now is a concept for the North Gateway, where a new library is proposed and a new multimodal bridge is recommended. Multimodal being able to accommodate not just cars, but pedestrians and bicycles, and connecting, being a really good pedestrian connection across the railroad tracks. The Win Crossroad. This plan is at the heart of the town center. That's why it's a catalyst, and that's why it's important. The key features of this concept are a redesigned Blue Ball Avenue intersection, preservation of the McKay Pierce property, a new public plaza, and municipal parking, as well as some walkable retail spaces, new retail spaces. South Gateway illustrates what could happen when properties adjacent to the roundabouts are redeveloped. And also, this is important because this represents the gateway, and new development should present an impressive image of the town center upon exiting and entering the township from I-95. On to implementation. Out of all of the public input and the concepts, we devised 16 overall implementation strategies. These were developed to attach a plan of action to the concepts and objectives of the vision plan. Plan, which is available on the website, hopefully if you haven't had a chance to read through it, the implementation section really goes into a lot of detail describing each of these implementation strategies, so I'm not going to go through them all here. I did want to highlight one strategy that generated a lot of discussion and feedback from the Planning Commission, and that was the number 3 here, the Boothland Downtown Improvement District. For those who don't know, a downtown improvement district, also known as a business improvement district, also commonly referred to as a BID for short. For those who don't know, a BID is a designated commercial area created by the business owners in that area and run by a board of directors. It features a special assessment that businesses and business owners agree to pay to cover costs of various improvements, including street cleaning, also marketing, facade improvements, and beautification projects, among many other things. It's usually operated by a full-time manager who works to bolster the community, manage improvement projects, recruit businesses, build relationships with businesses, and manage grants and projects. The Pennsylvania Downtown Center is a really great resource. And one of the recommendations is for the township or the business association, whoever is initiating the startup of a BID, to meet with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. They will walk you through the process. A lot of successful town centers have BIDs or similar types of operations, such as Media, Westchester, and Ardmore. One of the most well-known, earliest examples around Pennsylvania is the Center City District in Philadelphia. It gives business, even though businesses have to agree to pay a special fee, one of the things they really get out of it is that they have authority over how money gets spent in their district. It's not like a tax where it goes into a general fund and they don't have any control how it's spent. They control how it's spent, and it really is a benefit to them. So that is a recommendation. I know that there are questions and concerns about, additional fees and things for business owners, but all of that can be studied, it can be looked through. It's something that can evolve over time. But I recommend it because it really is sometimes a lot of businesses, the types of businesses that the community said they wanted, like, dine-in restaurants, brew pubs, a lot of those places actually kind of expect that when they go into a downtown. It gives them a sense of security that they know they're being taken care of. I'm listing here a lot of the funding opportunities. Again, this is straight out of the plan. Funding opportunities, grants, loans. Some of these are matching grants. This is a pretty focused list. It is not all inclusive. And funding grants, they change over time. New ones are added over time, all the time. With the new infrastructure bill, we're probably going to be seeing a lot more. So this is something that needs to be updated pretty regularly. But, for the time being, this is a pretty good list of the types of funding that would be used for the implementation strategies that are recommended. This is an example of the implementation matrix. This is one of the tables. This is early action. There are more tables for short-term actions, for medium-term actions, longer-term actions. I just wanted to show, again, in the plan, you can see more detail. This is, this was really intended to be designed to be easy to read and organized by time frames, such again as early actions, short-term, medium-term, long-term, listing partnerships, the types of grants opportunities. And frankly, I think what's good is that, a lot of these strategies actually are related to each other or impact one another, and some of them can bolster and contribute to the other strategies. And I try to list that here under the column for related implementation projects. Okay, I'm going to conclude with some final thoughts. I want to leave time for questions. I just want to sort of reiterate that this is a framework of ideas. While many of the ideas are conceptual, the objectives are very realistic, and they can be implemented with a strong plan for action, which I think we did pretty well in this plan. Even with the best plan and lots of money available out in funding, the plan won't be that successful or able to be implemented without strong leadership. The key to implementation is strong leadership, also good partnerships, flexibility, perseverance toward a common vision, i.e., don't give up if things go wrong or things go wayward, and often they do. Because the plan, you got to think of the plan as a roadmap. Sometimes there are roadblocks and detours. Sometimes it takes longer, but you can always course correct. And the main takeaway is, as long as you know where you're going, you'll get there. So I will conclude with a big thank you to everyone who helped develop this plan, the task force, the planning commission, the board of commissioners, Delaware County, PennDOT, SEPTA, Barb Kelly, and just want to reiterate that the plan is available on the township's website. I've got the web address listed here. And again, thank you all, and I'm ready to take your questions.
Thank you, Nancy.
Yes.
I'll start up here, up the table here. If there's any board members that have a comment or any questions, feel free to. Neri, you have anything? Okay. No.
A quick one. I mean, we have this vision or whatever now. What's like a time frame usually? Something like this all.
This is a 10-year plan. Ultimately, a lot of, and you'll see if you look at the implementation matrix and the strategies, several things can happen within a year. There's some things like redoing the zoning and changing the streetscape or doing a streetscape plan. That's stuff that can happen in a year. But it's going to be incremental over probably 5 to 10 years. I think the illustrations, the diagrams, the plans that we're showing were conceptual. The objectives, I think, are solid. Like what ultimately what ultimately you want to arrive at, which is some of them, yeah. Like take the Gateway and the Crossroad redevelopment. They would take more detailed planning. Certainly, there's a lot that goes into that. Those are longer term strategies. We talked a lot with the task force, with PennDOT and Delaware County about what to do with Blue Ball and Chichester. It's just a hazardous intersection, and it's in the middle of your downtown. Something has to be done. Presented some options for what to do, different options, but the main thing is this is something that has to be taken care of.
Right.
Whichever you do, close
So-
it, redesign it, limit the turning movement, landscaping, something has to be done, right?
So
And that is, so there's the way, the alternatives for getting there are conceptual, but ultimately the redesign is an objective that really needs to be implemented.
Blue Ball's owned by the state
It is.
currently, and I don't think my understanding is they're not entertaining us closing it down. And if we did close it down, would we have to take ownership of the street? And if so, that would be a cost to the township.
So we talked to one group of people at PennDOT.
Mhm.
I stressed in the plan a lot that you need to meet with PennDOT Connects, which is the planning division who worked with you guys through the 322 project. They'll have different ideas on what to do there. Ed and I talked to a few of the people at PennDOT who said they typically don't like to close roads. If they do, they would turn it over to the township. No, I don't think you want to do that. So there are other things to look at.
Okay.
We talked about restricting turning movements, making it one way. Ultimately, if that area is redeveloped, you could do a realignment of Blue Ball. I mean, PennDOT's not going to do it, but if there were a redevelopment project with private property owners involved, they would support that if that was part of a redevelopment project. They're not going to take any property, but if there were,
Yeah. I just have 3 more questions,
Mhm.
and then
I have an
I'll be
answer
done.
on
But
the
yeah, go
question
ahead.
for you there.
You-
The one thing they did because of all those questions about Blue Ball and the state turning over,
Mhm.
one thing they did say we can do that's not costly is the impact study of
Oh,
that
yes.
area. Not just Blue Ball Avenue, they were talking all the way up to the roundabout up to pieces, because there was questions on their end and our end. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
When we met,
Whatever
we had
you
questions,
do.
they had.
Whatever you do, you have to do an impact study.
Mhm.
The impact study will show you what happens to the surrounding network if you do nothing,
Right.
if you do the short-term strategy, if you close, if you realign. And again, the impact study is probably a must.
All right. I'll just give 2 more questions. So
Sure.
I know we talked about widening Chichester Avenue. Personally, I would love to see that happen. I don't know what the feasibility of that actually happening is.
I don't think that we did recommend widening Chichester.
Okay, so,
No,
all right.
That's not in there.
They were moving more or less the sidewalks in so that people could walk in the parking in the rear of the buildings. No widening
Okay.
the parking, or no widening of Chi Avenue at all.
Because I dropped my car off a Charlie Transmission one day, and the dealership next to it, the mechanic next to it, and I walked home, and I was actually able to walk home from that point to my house on Wood Stream, which is right off of Larkin Road. The only section that really would need sidewalk is right there by Gardendale, the fruit streets, as we affectionately call them, peach, apple, plum. Other than that, there's a significant amount of sidewalks, and I understand that the idea would be try to make them wider.
Mhm.
But, you know, I don't know how we would actually do that without getting the residents to do it, or a developer would come in and do it all.
On Chichester,
Mhm.
it's a combination of things,
Yeah,
honestly. Like,
so,
you know how you know how Wawa did all the streetscape improvements? It would be like that, but more
Yeah.
organized.
Yeah.
Like there would be a thought process to it.
and the other aspect, I talked to Sydney Charney, was about the historical overview.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping that will get updated and
We did
fixed.
update that in the
Okay.
latest version. I don't know if the latest plan got to the website. So I'm gonna request that one gets up on the website where I did address Cindy's concerns.
And I guess moving forward, are you asking the board to accept this or to consider it, the plan, or just for us to keep on continuing to working, trying to find like maybe a common goal or a common area that we can actually develop? I think one area that we could really implement this thing on, Ed, is the meeting house in Chichester Avenue, where we have the comic book store, Don's, and the fish store. I think if we concentrate in that area to try to get improve the parking there as a starting point, that might not be a bad idea.
I think that was the goal from day one. I think the original plan of the Boothland Town Center was this big. At the time, the committee and everybody started talking, it did extend it that way. And as Nancy said, and as we stated with the task force, from day one, over a year ago, that it's going to take time. It could get lucky and somebody come in and do 25% of it for us. Things the township could do. Town center vision got a little bigger than we anticipated from day one. You're absolutely right. We would go to those ones and try to figure out some parking and stuff. Blue Ball Avenue was just, when we started meeting with PennDOT, we started meeting with SEPTA, Delaware County Planning Board. These are all the recommendations. We got deep into this after all of our surveys and after all of our open houses, that we were able to put this final plan. I would say I would like to adopt this plan, not that this plan is not concrete, but it gives us a vision of what the task force imagined. Can it change? Absolutely. But there's things piece by piece that can get done. Keep looking out for the grants, and maybe next year apply for one grant, the following year. Impact study. Realistically, PennDOT's not going to do Blue Bowl Avenue. We all know that. I mean, unless they do, and we know that. But they came up with ideas that is in the. I don't know if we have it, the new one, with the impact study, or why they had it. We had ideas. They had ideas. There's other people we need to talk with PennDOT that will direct us in different directions. I would like to see us adopt this. We have a plan. We worked on it for just about a year and a month, 13 months. And the public was involved, some organizations were involved. So I think it's a footprint to start, because if you don't have it, you don't have the ideas to give to anybody coming in. This is our vision, and it can extend past our vision, as you just stated, further up towards Gardendale. You just have to look extended if you're going to do any different zone and any overlays. That they're just recommendations. That it's our job up here to start saying, hey, how do we implement some of this stuff at a cost that's not going to. And that, I will tell you, this task force grabbed onto that, because when I gave my vision, I stepped back. They did the rest. So this is 95% of them. And I'm proud of that, because it's nobody not had an idea that was not left unanswered, and tried to figure out the best way without putting a hardship on new businesses coming in or the businesses that are there today. So I would like us to adopt this plan, make sure we have the plan that with the revisions of our planning board gave comments to make sure it's in there. Because I think our planning board was the last comment that was made on the 27th of January. So it should be in the final plan. So.
I'd like to thank the committee for working on it. I know this was a long task over years, and I appreciate your dedication and time. But there are some questions that I have, and hopefully we can study them and get down to the answer and move forward. Thank you.
Do I open this up to the public now on the comments wise, since it was just a presentation?
Well, I don't think you have to do it on the presentation series. I have to say
Well, Nancy, I thank you very much, but there is one other person I did not, and I apologize to everybody, because this gentleman was on my list from day one. I did not mention his name. It's John Orndorff. And I know this gentleman would have been a heck of a voice on our committee, which would have been a good thing. But John Orndorff passed before we were able to start this committee. He isn't listed in here as John Orndorff as emeritus, because that's the only way I could actually honor him to be on this committee. And this is one resident that wanted to get involved and never had the chance. So hopefully everybody remembers that. So, but Nancy, I thank you very much. CH Planning, I thank them very much. It was a long process. Any questions, we'll back at our next meeting. Over at the regular meeting, we'll have any comments on that for us. So we will
Thank you,
go,
everyone.
Thank you. We will go directly into this meeting, and it will come to order. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody still say stand it, please. It was a week ago night. We as a board here, we got the bad news. One of our residents was killed in an accident at Fisher Avenue. And the family don't know how many people this gentleman. His name was Josh Quinn. If I talk to everybody in here, because we had the same comments, everybody knew him. He was a part of Upper Chi. If you went down Chi Avenue, you saw him. Went down Bethlehem, somewhere in Upper Chi, Lower Chichester, training. Man was everywhere. Tragic accident. I just want to take the comments for him. Very much. First, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Upper Chichester Township Board of Commissioners meeting, February 10th, 2022. George, could you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Bacco,
Here.
Commissioner Godioso,
Here.
Mr. Burkowski,
Here.
Commissioner Neary, Commissioner Whitaker,
Here.
Michael Pierce, Lisa Catania, and myself, George Needles, President.
Okay, we'll open it up to the citizens' comments. We'll go to the residents and the audience we have tonight. It could be either anything that's on the agenda, or it could be about the presentation, since we still have Nancy with us to answer any questions.
Excuse me, can I make a comment, Mr. President?
Sure.
When you were standing up asking for a moment of silence, you broke up, and I don't know that the public, anybody that may be listening, heard the name of the young man who was killed. So if you want to repeat his name, thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. That's something we need to try to repair in this, is our video or our audio in here. But yes, it's Josh Quinn. Everybody saw him, so I apologize if they didn't hear it, but it's Joshua Quinn. So thank you. So I'll open it up to the residents in the audience here tonight. I'll start on my left. In the front row, it would be your right. John?
John Thornton, 712 Dutton Street. Upper Chichester. Currently, the Township Fire Chief giving a report on the fire department status. The month of January, the fire department, we received 83 calls for service. Unfortunately, 3 of the calls failed, which means we did not have a crew and we're not able to respond. The hours were between 6 a.m. and 1 p.m. Seems to be our most vulnerable time, least amount of volunteers around. We continue to rely heavily on the Public Works Department during these daytime hours, and they are much appreciated. The department recently applied for a state safer grant for to employ 2 firefighters. If we get this grant, that will definitely help our daytime hours. With only being 2 firefighters, we will still need at least 2 volunteers or Public Works Department workers to get a truck out during the daytime hours. We'll continue working with the township, trying to solve these problems. Looking forward to doing that so we can man our vehicle or apparatus during the daytime hours when our volunteer numbers are low. Usually after 2 or 3 o'clock until 6 a.m. We have a lot of members around. We have no problem getting the trucks out. Recently, we just donated a Pierce Rescue truck to the Phillipsburg Fire Department in Central PA. They were in dire need. They had totaled one of their engines, and they were down, I believe, the 1 truck. So we were able to help them out with a 1990 truck that we had sitting in reserve, and we had no need for. So very happy about that. We were helping somebody out. We recently sold 3 engines and 2 utility trucks, downsizing our fleet. With the merger going on, we don't need as much equipment, which also makes for lowered insurance costs for the township, which is a good thing. The department has purchased a used tower truck to replace the existing tower ladder. It's beginning to show its age. Recently, it's starting to fail mechanically and become a financial burden on the department. Expected delivery is in March. After we mount equipment and extensive training, drivers training, operators, and firefighter training on the vehicle, we hope to have it in service in late spring. Go ahead. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you. John, just to let the audience know, this is not the first time the fire department, all 3 of them, Upper Chi Fire Department, has donated either a vehicle or some equipment to fire companies Midwest, Western Pennsylvania. It's 1990, you said, and that may be their newest truck. So they have been doing this for years. I commend them, all of them, for doing it. They're there, and then I know it would be the same way, vice versa, west, east, east, west, and it doesn't even have to be Pennsylvania. So, but thank you very much for that. Anybody else on the right side would like to come up, whether it's a task force representative? That's
Evening, Betsy Barnes, Director of Upper Chichester Library. I just want to give a brief report about the library. We were shut down due to the Omicron variant for 2 weeks from January to last week, and we reopened and serving the public. Everybody's very happy. We're in March. We're starting to open. We got a grant from the Ethel Sergeant Clark Smith Foundation. We are working on partnering with the Presbyterian Memorial Church to have a Tuesday morning cafe for seniors. Since we do not have a big enough community room for social distancing, we are partnering with the church. They have a renovated community room And that will start two days a week, 9:30, no, Tuesdays a month, excuse me, from 9:30 to 12, and it'll be starting March 15th. We do have some other programs, but I just wanted to see if everybody received the new Town Talk this week. We have an ad. We put an ad, a full page ad of the new and currently we are accepting donations and pledges, and currently we are getting different foundations that are pledging, and we're up to 742,000. I can give you a copy of that if you'd like. Any questions or?
I think that ad appeared in the Daily Times today as well. didn't it?
Yes, it was in yesterday's Daily Times on page 11, and then the Town Talk. Okay.
I have a question, Betsy.
Yes.
The report that we were given, it says the Upper Township County Market Equalization Value at Kingston Park, you have it listed as $528,760.
Yes, I have a copy here of the appraisal. It
Right.
was received a year ago from the township manager.
Can I finish my statement, please?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
We did an appraisal of the property and it came out $125,000. So I asked for, I sent an email just for disclosure, sent an email out to the board asking if we can get a copy of that, so we can study it. If you're going to put this on the grant, I think the board needs to agree with the value of it because we are listing it at 125.
Okay.
So
I do have a copy here. I did send Nicole, Joe Neary, and George Needles a copy too.
that's a significant difference between 125 and 528.
Yes, but you know, I do have the numbers here. I do have the official appraisal here. So. All right.
Yep.
Yes, because the RACP grant will match the appraised value of the land. So that's why that number is there.
Right.
Okay.
But what I'm telling
So
the
I have a
board-
question, George. I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike. When you finish, I'll go. I wanna
Just
talk-
all I'm asking the board is before we sign our name to anything, we own the property. So the appraisal has to come from the owners, which is currently at 125. So if there's 3 board members here that are going to agree with the 528, then so be it. But I really believe that it should be reviewed by the board and say that this was an accurate appraisal and that we should move forward with it.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the document that Betsy sent me. George, you have a copy of it?
Yeah, the email. Email. You hear me? The copy of the email?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So okay. So the real estate tax assessment, that is from the county? Is that what it is? Because it says, hi, George, 264,380 assessed value for the property.
So for context, the Board of Commissioners had commissioned an appraisal of the property from a state certified appraiser, Don Garfinkel of Rose Valley Appraisal.com, Rose Valley Appraisal. Don did the appraisal report and came back with the value, I believe it was $120,000. He assessed that he determined the property of the value to be. When we provided that to everybody, it was questioned as to why that was the appraisal value. So this is an email in response to me asking Don for an explanation as to why he was the property was assessed at 120. So his response is, "Hi, George, $264,380 was the assessed value for the property. To make this theoretically equivalent to market value, divide the assessed value by the PA common level ratio, which was 50% last year. That results in an equalized theoretical market value of $528,760. See below." And then there's the excerpt of what's pulled off the county website. He says, "My appraised market value for the subject property was $120,000. I am of the opinion that the parcel was grossly overassessed by the county." Now, I'm not an appraiser. I'm not a real estate person, so I won't argue either way. I can tell you from my experience in municipal government, properties that do not get taxed, it's very rare that the governmental body goes and fights any of those assessed values. So a lot of times those parcels that don't have any taxation on them do have out of whack values associated with them, because the theory is they're never going to get sold to a for-profit. They're never going to have need to exchange hands or anything like that. So he is a state certified appraiser and gave us a state certified appraiser amount of 120. I would think that if a different number, if you're going to come to a different number, I believe the process would then be that we would have to get a second appraisal of the property and dispute the amounts. Correct?
Can't hear.
That's one way to do it. The other way is to ask the county to come in and reassess it.
Thought is, so again, we're not applying for this grant. So I don't know necessarily if this affects the township or doesn't affect the township of whatever dollar amount the library puts down on their application as the value being. I guess it would just be that you'd have to have something to back that up at the end of the day with your application to the Commonwealth. And
Right.
I would say that it might have been a bad thing that we got the appraisal, because we have now a report on file, which will be a public document at the municipality that says that it appraises at 120. But again,
So
it's not
it says the appraisal of 120. The market value means what? What it would sell at? Is that what the county
Fair
is saying?
market.
Even though it's grossly over, it may be grossly over value, but is that what they're saying? Is that's what it would sell at?
The appraiser is saying that it would sell at 120,000. The county has it appraised at a higher number currently for their purposes. It's not going to be a high priority for the county because nobody's obtaining any taxes on it. So they're not going to go back and spend all the time, effort, and money to reappraise or to appraise properties that are being dealt with and held by municipalities.
Okay.
George,
Yeah, thank you for that explanation.
Sorry about that. That 200 some, is that today's assessment there after the reassessment for the whole county recently? What is that number? Is there a new one?
was the market value prior to the reassessment? What was listed? So again, I don't really know where it comes into play from the township perspective.
It candidly,
Right.
it doesn't make any difference at this stage.
Right.
Right.
Because the grant's already applied for, saying the numbers are in. They're only,
They have to go back and audit it. They'll make a determination as to what they feel. And the answer, if the question comes in, is, how did you arrive at this number? This is what the county has it appraised at.
Right.
If the question comes up, well, do you have a market? There's a difference in an appraised value or an assessed value from a market value. I think what we asked the appraiser for was a fair market value, which presupposes that you're going to sell that property. In other words, if it went out on the open market or somebody came to the township and said, I want to purchase that piece of property, in order for us to proceed on that, we would have to obtain an appraisal to determine what the fair market value of that before we can enter into any kind of an agreement of sale. So it's really kind of a circular argument at this point. I don't know that it makes any difference, candidly.
Can we,
Thank you.
at this time, ask for the new assessment from the county, because this is the old assessment. We could look and see if they made a change and made it more comparable to what Mr. Garfinkel is, and then the library can make a decision whether they want to get it.
You certainly can. I don't know that it's going to be a high priority for the county to
I'm not-
reassess
I'm
municipal
not asking them to
properties. Yeah.
reassess. They've already reassessed it. This
Well,
is,
yeah,
this
well,
is,
maybe they did.
okay.
I'm not sure that they did.
I would just like to see the current assessment.
Okay. Betsy, thank you. Anybody else on my left side, the right side of the room? Going to the right side of my side and left side of your side. Anybody in the audience want comment on the presentation or anything on the agenda tonight? If not, there's no other comments, and I will open it up to the phone lines for a few minutes here for the public participants for citizen comments. They could dial in at 571-748-4021. That number is 571-748-4021. Enter in the PIN 357-1690#. That's 357-1690#. To unmute your phone, press *6. Give it a few minutes and see if we have any public comments by phone. Make note, there was no public comments via telephone tonight. We will move on with our meeting. Need an approval of the minutes from the January 3rd, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting, reorganization meeting, and then January 3rd, 2022, the Board of Commissioners caucus meeting, and the January 13th, 2022 Board of Commissioners regular monthly meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next two action items will be read by Commissioner Nicole Whitaker.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Consider a motion authorizing the township treasurer to allocate $250,000 in capital reserve funds as a contribution to the Upper Chichester Township Library contingent on their ability to secure a redevelopment assistance capital program grant from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for the construction of a new library.
Second.
Questions?
One. How are we going to reserve this money? Is it like so much a year? Is it like my fear is they reach their grant, they're ready to go. We got to come up with 250,000 all in one shot.
Okay, so I think the best way that you would do it from a budgeting perspective is, since the capital budget is passed for this year, that we'll just need to, by this motion, carve out $250,000 for them. And going forward, if that money is not expended in this year, then in the capital budget, each year going forward until it is expended, if it is expended, you would reserve that in that budget.
So we could do a little bit each year for, I mean, do we anticipate breaking ground within 3 years, 5, you know what I'm saying? So we could reserve a little bit each year. Have that one big hit all at once.
Well, I think you're going to give it in one hit. So I think you would earmark the whole 250 starting on day one and keep it reserved for that purpose. So it would be there, but it wouldn't go out until.
Right, but how do we get there is my question.
We would just carve it out of cash on hand at this point. So we would say, we would take today's dollars, 250,000, and reserve that from this point going.
This is taxpayers' money, correct?
In the capital improvement fund. Any other questions? Now, like the motion also read, if they don't do it, the pledge money is.
Right.
Right.
I'm
And that
worried
could be
about-
3
well,
years,
I'm worried
5
about
years.
Where we're gonna get the money
Right.
when the time comes, that's all.
So I'm assuming because it's in capital reserve, the money is already there. It hasn't been allocated. It's sitting there, which is why George is saying that we stipulate that the money is for that. If we didn't have the money, then what we would do is budget a certain dollar amount each year and, reserve it and or give it to them each year in the event that they receive the grant.
But my
And
fear was- my fear
I
was
understand. I got you.
They get there
Um,
before we get there.
Right. So we already have the money, is
Right,
my
they have it
understanding.
there.
And how much of our budget comes from taxpayer dollars?
I
Yeah.
don't have that number. I don't have the number in front of me.
So on average, 13.5 million, you could say 9 million of that comes between the real estate tax and the earned income tax. Probably when you factor in like what the business is paying, it can probably close to like, 11 million. So I think like close to 90% of the budget, 80 to 90% of the budget.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions,
No, my only comment is, I'm the commissioner of that ward, and, I'm getting feedback that there's a lot of questions about the library being built with the residents at Thornton and Kingsman Road. And, it was sold to us that taxpayers' money will not be used to build this library, that they would fund it 100% by raising money. So, I'm going to be a no vote at this point in time. We still haven't worked out the memorandum of understanding that was back in 2020. So until I'm convinced that the residents actually want this to happen, then I'm going to be a no vote at this moment in time. Thank you.
George, can we have a roll call vote on that? So
Commissioner Baiocco,
Yes.
Commissioner Gaudioso,
No.
Commissioner Rakowski,
yes.
Commissioner Neary,
Yes.
Commissioner Whitaker.
Yes.
Motion carries 4.
Thank you.
You got the next one, Nicole.
Consider a motion authorizing the creation of a temporary handicap-only parking space in the vicinity of 1021 Beeson Avenue. So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So ordered. Next 4 will be read by Commissioner Neary.
Consider a motion authorizing the township, consider a motion hiring Eileen Monaco to the position of seasonal crossing guard in the Upper Chichester Township. So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Consider a motion authorizing the township treasurer to make the necessary fund transfers as previously outlined to ensure compliance with the first-class township code. So moved.
Second.
Uh, Can you explain that a little bit, George, to the residents that are here? We may know what it means for the transfers for the the first-class township, but people are probably looking at us like, what are you doing? Just short version.
Just,
Yeah,
you don't need chapter and verse.
we'll be here all night.
Best practice operating practices and the first class township code put certain restrictions on how much money the township can have in various funds. This motion will be to ensure that there are 4 months worth of expenditures at all times in the cash accounts, 4 months worth of expenditures in an unreserved capital account, moving money from there over to our capital improvement fund account to be able to fund capital projects that have been previously budgeted, as well as other funds that need to be funded to certain levels. But by law, we cannot carry more than 25% in an unrestricted reserve fund. So this motion is to ensure that we comply with that law.
Thank you very much for that, George. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Consider a motion authorizing the township treasurer to pay off all township non-electoral debts excluding the 2021 bond issue.
Second.
Any questions?
Commissioner, Joe, there has to be a correction to that, you
It
said?
says 2020, that's why I read it as 2021. Well, we got a new one right before the meeting, so I figured that would have been taken care of, how it was mentioned earlier today.
Okay, I'd just like to make a quick comment before we do this. In case some of the residents weren't here last week, this is something this board and it's puts a heck of a cushion for the township, and we're paying bonds off ahead of the game. So we're financially pretty well stable. I don't want anything could happen, God forbid, but I'm proud to sit up here with the board, the way we discussed it last month or last week on the workshop, that explaining the money we're saving by doing this. The only bond they didn't include was the 2021 that we just did recently for the pension, medical pension and the police pension, which actually saves us millions of dollars in the end of that one. So we're doing something right. That's all I can say. And no matter how much we butt heads up there, it's good. So I just wanted to let the audience know it wasn't, hey, we're paying something off way ahead of time. So it's great. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Keep going, Joe. No.
Consider a motion approving the list of bills in the amount of $421,266.49. So move.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The next items, number 13 through, halfway you going, Mike? 18 will be read by Commissioner Gaudioso.
Thank you. Can we consider a resolution granting conditional approval to Dipash Patel for Duncan Chichester? Excuse me, I'll start over again. Can we consider a resolution granting conditional approval to Dipash Patel for Duncan Chichester located at 464A Conchester Highway, preliminary final land development plan for the construction of a 969 square foot commercial building and associated improvements?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I'd like to consider a motion accepting the land development application extension granted by the applicant for the 900 Township Line Road application.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
I'd like the board to consider a motion accepting the land development application extension granted by the applicant for the 3033 Market Street application.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Can we consider a motion accepting the land development application extension granted by the applicant for the 4800 Chichester Avenue application?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Consider a resolution authorizing escrow release number 1 for Clover Development Corporation in the amount of $111,000, $705.20.
Second for the purpose of discussion because I know it wants to be discussed.
Yes,
Right. Any questions?
yes. Can we hold this money till he straightens all the issues going on up there?
These, be a question for the solicitor. These improvements are improvements that have been signed off and certified by the alternative engineers being completed on the site.
Simple answer is no.
Is there more monies held in escrow?
So eventually.
So
we can,
that,
Yes,
with the issues we're having today, okay.
because technically,
just for this one.
yeah, okay. But technically he's shut down right now. I've seen a whole lot of vehicles up there today.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Lastly, consider a resolution authorizing an escrow release for the Buckley Cable Construction in the amount of $225.00.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Commissioner Biaco will get us from number 19 down to 23.
Consider a resolution making application to the County of Delaware for liquid fuels funds in the amount of $12,960.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Consider a resolution granting Edward Rakowski, President, Board of Commissioners, authority to negotiate documents on behalf of Upper Chichester Township in relation to the traffic signal maintenance agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Second.
Question. I'm negotiating the contract, or am I just going, oh, sign it, okay?
You're the press.
If not, I'm just putting candles out there. No. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Consider a motion accepting the traffic signal maintenance agreement between Upper Chichester Township and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Consider a motion authorizing the township manager to secure an appraisal of the property at 4800 Chichester Avenue from a state certified appraiser. That being the Hamby Farm or the Goat Farm, just for everybody's, so they know.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Note one, no.
Okay.
So ordered.
You done with that one?
Yeah, you're good.
Consider a motion authorizing the township solicitor to prepare and send a letter to Aston Township reiterating the concerns with the not Springbrook, it's Somerset land development project in Aston Township. Or Springbrook, is that the land development? Okay, so it should be Springbrook Land Development Project in Aston Township.
Any questions?
Question.
Sure.
I assume I'll get whatever those concerns
Yes.
are. Okay.
You don't have like a standard one for that?
Any other questions? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. I get to read one, which I wouldn't need to, but consider a resolution authorizing an escrow release for Pam Gessler in the amount of $27,124. That's the fire escrow on Cherry Street, I think.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. We'll go into our commissioners' reports right now. We'll start off with Madam Vice President Nicole Whitaker.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, just want to thank the board for supporting the library. I know we have, we've been going back and forth with this for a few years, and we have had discussions regarding, taxpayer dollars and certainly not raising taxes to build a library. We did have some discussion last week regarding funding that we have other sources of funding that we received. I don't want to get into that at this point. If I should say, when the time comes, when the library receives the grant, fingers crossed, then we should have an extensive discussion regarding the funding so that we can assure the taxpayers that we are not, spending their money, so to speak. So we'll discuss that when the time comes to, if they get the grant, we'll have a further discussion about that, because we certainly don't want to go back on something that we have said publicly with the community. So again, thank you for the board support. I am attending a conference right now in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So I'm going to sign off now unless the manager or anyone has any questions for me.
Just, Nicole, I traditionally have wished you a happy birthday every year, and I don't want to stop that tradition. So happy birthday to you, and
Thank you.
obviously to my wife. So, but
Yeah.
thank you for
That's why you remember.
thank you for your hard work and everything that you do.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Any other
right.
questions for Nicole? George and Joe ate your heart or your candy. It's sitting up
Oh,
here on the desk.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Night. We'll move along with Commissioner Neary.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following reports are in your book. There's the usual financial package. There's the tax collector's report, which I'm assuming is for the end of the year or January, because it certainly doesn't have this year's numbers. The police report is also available in the office as well. So I appreciate everybody's concern, and that's all I have.
Anybody have anything to be brought to the attention of Mr. Neary? I just want to put since it's underneath Joe's report, I just want to give a kudos out to the Upper Chi Police Department on the job they did do last week, a week ago tonight. Quick response, even with the fire department, everybody did what they had to do and can do for the situation. But to be able to resolve the issue within hours was phenomenal. I had a lot of questions in years back, sitting up here questioning, but our investment with these cameras have, I wasn't against the cameras at the beginning, and I never was. It's just how it was such a big thing. But this is a lot of the proof that what we have out there has solved a lot of issues throughout our township and gives the ability to the police department to resolve these issues quicker than before. And I just want to thank them. They did an outstanding job last week. So thank you.
If I could add, just
Sure.
financially, those cameras have saved us well over $100,000. Well more than what they've cost individually.
Right.
And the tragic accident of last week just reminds us that the important thing is protecting our residents and doing the right thing.
Absolutely. We'll move along with Commissioner Gaudioso.
I really don't have anything to report on tonight. We went over our action items during the meeting for any extension and approvals. Not unless anybody have any questions for me, just for disclosure, I'm going to try to meet with the property maintenance department next Wednesday. I haven't met with them in quite some time. So just want to meet up with them, talk with them and get some feedback. So permitting, based on my schedule, I'm hoping to do that next Wednesday.
Any questions for Commissioner Gaudioso? Or George or Mike? I mean, I'm not sure, but it's that time of the year again. And I don't know where Steve is with this Are we looking for another part-time for property maintenance this year to help out, or are we just going to have one or two being slammed, or is there anything warranted to be able to have another part-timer? I don't know where Steve's at, if he's retiring or moving on or what.
Yeah, at this time he's unable to come back due to the
Right.
condition. I think you're good now looking at it. I mean, this is the phase of the year for the next month and a half where they round up and go through the past couple of years worth of violations and kind of start to identify the repeat offenders. Really, it's going to be based on how much they can get ahead of the game from this part. So if they do a good job over the next 2 months, leveraging the downtime of that we have now to get out, identify some of these properties that have been issues in the past, get out those reminder letters that we kind of send in advance. It kind of helps them get through the summer. So really, it's the ball is in their court at this time. But I think between having a full timer and Oki running his 24 hours a week, you do have enough man hours in that department to handle the volume at this point.
We'll move along with Commissioner Joe Biacco.
Thank you. Like I said last week in caucus, the trash study report has come back. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read or whatever, but me, George, and Putt are going to sit down and go over like some of the options, which direction we might want to go in, and we'll bring it back to the board before we make any decisions. Another thing, me and George were discussing, possibly having them do a route study for us, like telling us how to change the routes, but we're not sure. We're not sure if we're going to go that way yet, or we might just take one of the other options and figure out the routes on our own. Highways gearing up. Professionals over here. We got some easements and stuff we're supposed to be getting. But told me to stay on this. So now they're geared up and ready to go. So I mean, they want to work. So let's give them their wish. Sewer Authority, everything's on file. Just a couple weeks. Everybody probably got their bill by now and noticed the increase. Overdevelopment, we touched already. I mean, we had some concerns up there, and George has been on top of it, thank God. But I just, if they don't get that done, I just don't have. It is. Yeah. We'll leave that alone. That's all I have.
Anything to be brought to the attention, Commissioner Biacco?
I don't know if we should explain why I asked for the appraisal on Rochester Avenue, or no, I don't know.
Not right.
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Any question? It's not a question. It's just because I was reading your study with the, and I saw one of the recommendations that I was somewhat leaning towards, but then underneath, do we have any idea of the recommendation of that loader, the truck, what that would cost or anything like that?
We have the loaders on all the trucks now.
I thought there was something that was by themselves.
It's a different type. It's a type that picks the can up by itself, correct?
No operator or something.
Yeah. So most of the references to loaders throughout the report are what we have on the vehicles. It's like the semi-automatic operation. But there is part of what the study was done was to look at what a situation would look like where a trash truck driver with no one on the back with just an automated claw.
Right.
And that is a plausible long-term option. However, we want to explore all the different options.
We'd have to change our whole fleet to do that.
Those trucks cost about $350,000.
One of the downsides to that is the fact that we all know every spring we get people with tons of stuff. These trucks are restricted to just those cans that fit in the arm. So yes, there's a lot of stuff to read in the report and to move forward with it.
That's all. Nothing.
That's not one of the options I think we're going to look at yet.
Right. I think, I mean, reading some of the report, I didn't get all the way to the end, but reading some of that report, it does give us the benefit to be able to do it more efficient in some areas.
Our trucks
Not
have the
everything.
lips, but they wheel the can to that.
Right.
And the
And
truck
try,
does the lift.
no matter how we try to better it, just even for our men in the township, you're gonna have changes and the residents are gonna, oh, you changed my trash day.
We haven't,
'Cause I
we haven't
did
changed
it.
trash days in probably 20 years.
Right,
So
so, I mean, it's the same old. Yeah. So we'll move on to,
I know I will.
but we'll move along to my report. Not much. My medic report's gonna have to be delayed. Mike had a little incident, fire marshal report. I sent an email to the board this morning if you want to entertain that email regarding the vehicle for the fire marshal. Other than that, I can't say it enough with my task force. Some of them are still here. Some, Miss Barbara, I see you here. Thank you very much. Nicole, I see you here. John left, but it was an honor. Just hope we could accomplish something. I will guarantee you this on record, that if we do anything, I will let the task force realize, hey, we are going to try some zoning changes or the impact study. And keep you involved if you want to come to the meeting. Everybody's invited to the meetings no matter what. But if there's steps by steps that we could do up here within the next year or two, I want them to be well aware of what, hey, we did implement some of this, it's working. It's just see what else we could do. So, but thank you very much. I don't have much on my report. We'll go to our professionals unless anybody have anything for mine. We'll start with the professionals. We'll start with the ladies first, Mr. Mike, so we could start with Lisa Catania for the engineer. No.
Guess I should put this on. My apologies. We did get today, it's on my report that we were waiting for plans from GARE. We received those on Wednesday. So we're going through those right now. Otherwise, I did get a call from Brad Majette from the AutoZone property. They are going to start the work probably early next month to get the punch list completed. I also asked him whether or not they had anything on Lot 2, anything in the horizon, and he told me no. So they haven't been able to find anyone for that lot as of yet. Otherwise, we're working on the easements, and that's all I have for this evening, unless anyone has any questions.
Anybody have any questions for the engineer? Lisa, just one quick one. We were getting the letter ready to go yesterday, but it had a death in the family for the agreement with the fence and everything for Wawa. I don't know what they have, but Oki's going to go ready to get it notarized for us. So
Yeah,
you'll have it hopefully Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah,
that one.
okay.
Just the agreement that Mike and them agreed upon, move the fence, no
Mhm.
trees, so everybody's. She did request a couple other things, but Mike and I are going to take care of that, which we suggested from day one, but she didn't want to do. So we'll take care of that. We'll figure it out for her. But other than that, it's all good.
Okay, very good.
And no
Thanks.
other questions for Lisa. We'll go to our solicitor, Mr. Mike Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. President. You have a copy of my written report in the file. All the action items have been taken care of. The township manager has asked him to review the property maintenance code and the BOCA code. There are some discrepancies between the two, and we're just going to clean that up, and hopefully within the next month or so, I'll have a draft for you just to forward on that. Everything else is pretty much in order. Commissioner Neary, I know there was an email from you later today. I did not get a chance to see it yet, but I will follow up with our code enforcement officer. My suggestion is going to be that if that matter is still status quo, that daily citations start to be issued.
If we, do we need to take them to court immediate?
No, we're going to start issuing daily citations
Okay,
for compliance at the district court, and then each one of those citations will result in a fine at some point in time.
Bill, hopefully.
He's going to do that. And then there was, I guess, the second question. My suggestion is we wait till we get the paperwork straightened out before we do any more.
All right, I'll tell Pat that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Other than that, everything's in order, sir.
Thank you very much. Anything to be brought to the attention? Need anything? George, it's all yours.
Just a couple of quick highlights. This past month, I was reelected to the position of Vice President of the Delaware County Tax Collection Committee. I represent Upper Chichester Township's interest on that committee. The voting interests are divided by the amount of collections for earned income tax. We serve on that with all the municipalities and the one school district in Delaware County that has a earned income tax. We heard a report from Joe Lazaro of Keystone Collections, where they indicated that collections were still looking strong for this area and did not see any kind of significant downturn through the pandemic. We did communicate that we had some issues with the way that they were sending out the notifications for the delinquent taxes, and spoke to them about giving us a longer notification period of the municipalities prior to them sending out those letters. Typically, we get notification the week that they're sent out, which is by the time we have that notification, we're already getting phone calls. So we'd like to have a better process in place. They committed to working with us on that. I have a meeting set up with the County Commerce Department and the Office of Community Housing Development. We are working with them on a pilot project on how to address blighted and vacant homes in Delaware County. Upper Chichester has been selected to be the pilot for that. So we'll be continuing to work with them. We provided them with a list of 13 blighted vacant properties within the township, and they are looking through that list to determine what legal remedies they would be able to assist us with in getting these properties to better use. They said that they selected us as the pilot property because of all the municipalities that they have interacted with. They felt that we had the best aptitude to be able to get this done. Currently working with the Chamber of Commerce and the Commerce Department also, along with the State Representative Craig Williams' office, pushing the House Transportation Committee to release funding for the US 322 Section 103 or Section 102 project, whichever one they so choose. As in late December, we attended a meeting with the project managers from PennDOT on the CSX Bridge project, and they indicated to us that they were in legal proceedings with CSX, which would delay that project and subsequently delay again both of the other two remaining PennDOT projects along 322. So in an effort to get this to happen sometime before 2030, 2040, we are pressuring the House Transportation Committee to move these projects forward, open up this funding, which is there and available for that. And then I would just like to thank the board for the movement on the paying down of the non-electoral debt. This will save the taxpayers $140,000 over the next 4 years. It gives us some breathing room in our budgeting over the next couple of years to handle the cost of inflation, which we are seeing significantly weigh on our budget this year. And we expect that that's going to continue for the next couple of years. Even with the planned rate increases, the return on our money in bank accounts is not going to equate what we were spending in interest on these notes. So it's a great financial move. As well as, if you remember, I participated in the bond rating call this previous year when we did our bond rating. And a couple of the items that were brought up were that we scored highly because of our low amount of debt. So if we remove that debt, it makes us score higher in that category. And I also, I believe with the tightening of the credit markets and everything, that they're going to start scrutinizing municipalities' bond ratings even further. And we will continue to have to overcome the fact that we don't have a dedicated full-time financial person, because that was the biggest hit that we received in that report. So I think this is going to offset that a decent amount by the fact that we no longer have any debt outside of that bond. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to be brought to the attention of the manager? George is
Quick question, George. You haven't heard the holdup on 322 is because two government entities are fighting with each other. You heard how that's going? I mean, Lisa, have you? I mean, is anybody?
PennDOT is trying to go through condemnation for a portion of CSX property.
Right.
So CSX is exercising their rights. And so it's going to have to go through a legal process in front of the PUC. And you know, there's indications that could take years.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
And I will say at the December meeting, Representative Williams was a very strong advocate for them moving the process up so that the portion between Clayton Park and Cherry Tree Road get done, because that wouldn't affect the CSX portion.
But
So
here's the argument. I asked that same question, Joe, and the argument is they don't want to, it's going to expect, there's going to be more traffic and the bridge is condemned and they don't want no more traffic than has to go over the bridge.
I just wanted to give kudos to Representative Williams for being an advocate for us
He's trying.
in this case.
Yeah, I mean, we all knew this was happening. It stopped. And then now we're going from CSX backwards to us. And now
And
any help.
Once again, the perception is the more affluent area got their road, and we didn't.
Yeah, just to confirm what Commissioner Neary is saying, I spoke with Representative Williams also, and he's been trying to fight to get this moving and hopefully, have our best, he has our best interest, and he's been fighting for it also. So I just want to confirm, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Neary for mentioning that.
Anything I say, our kids will be sitting up here doing this job and they'll still be on 322. But well, I pray to God. But George, was Second Avenue on that list for blighted? Thank you. Okay, if we don't have anything else, need a motion to adjourn?
No, I have
What?
one thing under new business.
No problem.
We talked last week or the last month rather, about a committee to study the situation with volunteers.
Yes.
And I know that I've spoken to Mr. Gorga and he's okay with it. And I have another volunteer who asked, who I gave to you, Mr. Minner. And I, like the whole board to consider that, so that maybe by next month we could get a committee together. We could ask the fire department who they want on it. But I know the three of us those two have a lot of experience, and I appreciate both their concerns.
Are we looking for another board member to be on there? Or we're just going to keep Joe?
No, I think, honestly, I'm okay with the three. Just what we need is need the guidance of the fire department on what their regulations are of active members, whether it's fire department, fighting, or the executive side. So I think the three is enough to get that. They just have to participate by giving you guys the information.
The idea, from my perspective, and I'm not a fireman, but from my perspective is we need to take both sides into consideration, and we could set the criteria and say it's got to be in the bylaws, or it's got to be in the minutes,
right?
However we do it. And then, and I think three is great, because I think the three of us get along great, and the three of us we can move pretty quickly on it. Correct, Butch? And I know Art's, I'll just run him down to where he's a crossing guard this week. But no, I appreciate that.
I'm okay with the three. I think they could do the job. It's the job of the fire department to get the information, and then they got guidelines. Because there are guidelines already out there from the state to give you some kind of formula. They will not approve it because they don't want to say, hey, this is it. It's up to the municipalities to say, hey, this is our recommendations, and then see what the recommendation from our committee comes up with and bring it back to the board. It's overdue. I agree. We talked about it, and there's incentives. We heard the chief talk tonight. Daytime is still tough during the day. They're trying to get the grant, and the grant only pays. Tinicum Township had it for so long, and now they're paying their own people to do it, where that would cover the daytime from 6 to 2 or whatever it is in the morning. But that only lasts for so long. So you have to try to keep in it. That's been my question every convention I go to. What are your incentives? Give me the, and nobody could come out and say what the incentives are. I mean, how do you keep them? You got to keep them. To the point now that affecting us, but they're doing their job. So, and we got to be there supporting them on it. Not going to hurt the budget that bad to not do something. So, especially the money they save us. So, on that note, need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Any, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm not questioning that. So ordered.